If I just take this and then zoom out, if I can, there we go. So you can see actually this is one where I've used the dark streets and brought the car nice and close. So the car actually starts off way down there.
Can you... So, at the time of recording, tomorrow, I'm going to the movies.
Are you?
Yeah, I got a free ticket and you didn't know about this.
Are you actually going?
Yeah.
So tomorrow is the Gran Turismo movie. It's also Lydia's birthday, by the way. Happy birthday, Lyd.
Oh, nice. How many?
She's 11. Ridiculous. Secondary school next time. Anyway, Gran Turismo, the movie. Sorry, just to interrupt. It is out tomorrow in Europe, and it's not out until the end of the month in America. And that's a shame.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
What? I don't care. I just thought it was funny.
Okay. That's weird. Usually it's the other way around.
Exactly. So you're going...
But yeah, I got a free ticket.
Nice.
Yeah. The people at Sony Portugal have a partnership with someone that I am friends with.
Yeah.
So every Sony picture movie I get.
Good. Would you have gone otherwise?
That's a nice question. Probably not. I would probably wait for it to be streaming.
Same. I've not been to the cinema to watch a game movie yet, but I'll watch them when I can. I watched Uncharted on the plane. I was not impressed.
Oof. Now that you mention it, the last gaming movie that I watched was Warcraft. Probably. So a long time ago. Oof.
Well, I hope you enjoy it. If I do go, it'll be mainly because the boy wants to go, I think. But otherwise, I think we'll
You're a Gran Turismo fan.
Yes, I know. And it is technically a true story because it's based on GT Academy.
Yeah.
Which is good, but I don't know. It might be just one that struggles to be dramatized. It looks okay in the trailer, but I don't know. We'll see.
I didn't know it was inspired by, loosely inspired by real life events.
Well, the whole academy part of it is entirely true, and they took in-game players and into essentially like a competition, pick the best ones. Then they took them on a training session to become part of the Nissan team at Le Mans. So they did race for quite a few years. I think a guy was called Lucas. I think he was Spanish. Who won the original. They ran it every year. GT Academy ran for, 10 years.
That's really cool.
It was amazing. Yeah, I know. Like, genuine route into motorsport.
That should be common knowledge.
I thought it was.
But it is. Yeah. But every time that I say... now the trailer is going everywhere. On YouTube clips, And every time that I am with someone, I make sure to say, "Oh, this is actually based on a true story." And nah, that's impossible.
Yeah.
And then they Google it and find out. But I had no idea that it was a 10 years thing that they did it. That's really, really cool.
Indeed. I think they might have ended it a while ago before the shift onto the World Championships, because now it's just mainly an esports thing and there's genuine recognition. It's an FIA esports now, so the racers all enter that instead. But it is good.
Can you imagine this case being applied to any other game? Like
it certainly wouldn't work with FIFA, would it?
Yeah, FIFA, UFC, stuff like that.
Yeah.
A UFC gamer going into the ring with a pro and getting wrecked.
Yeah, I don't think that we'll be seeing that soon. But it's kind of typical that it was Gran Turismo anyway, because it's sort of a bit of a technological pioneer. I've always thought, I remember the original coming out and thinking like 161 cars or whatever it was, and just thought as if like the game will be no good if it's got that many cars. It won't be as good as Ridge Racer. Is it? Yeah, right.
Ooh, talk about the dead franchise. Yeah, I played that game. That game came with my PS2.
What, Ridge Racer?
Ridge Racer.
Yeah,
for the PS2.
Revolution. Well, no, Revolution was PS1.
No idea.
Before.
Something of a misconception is that I don't play racing games. But I grew up playing racing games, and because my brother was my older brother, so he got to pick the games, I got to play them. And he loved racing games, so I played Ridge Racer, Gran Turismo, Burnout, Need for Speed, but I don't know which ones. I don't know which. The only one that I know is Need for Speed Underground, and that's it.
I lose track of the Need for Speeds, actually. Burnout 2 was sensational. Anyway, good. I'm glad you said that people don't know you play racing games, or a misconception. Because I get the same, largely because I don't post very many pictures of them. And
exactly.
I grew up on racing games. I still... Gran Turismo, apart from Destiny, is my highest number of hours played on any PlayStation game. Gran Turismo 7. I will play them. I could never get bored of playing racing games, full stop. But I don't really shoot them very much because I find it difficult to add variety to the shots of cars. And a lot of people think that I don't like shooting cars because they're boring. They all look the same. I don't agree with that. I like pictures of cars. I just find it difficult to create those pictures of cars myself because I feel like I'm doing something I've already done.
I love seeing like people that focus more on cars, and even those who go for the details, like the breakers inside the wheel and stuff like that. I love it. I can never do that. Yeah. Like I try and I failed. Like I took like 20 maybe pictures of Gran Turismo because I like playing the game. And I love that photo mode, both the escapes and the replay mode. But I feel like I'm not good at it.
Yeah, it's
because
not your niche, not your field.
Yeah, because it feels so good to play the game that I just want to finish taking photos and going back to racing. Yeah.
And which brings me back to what I was going to say. Even if you'd played all of the Gran Turismos, as I skipped 6 actually, and it is again a pioneer in the photomod space because Gran Turismo 4. I can't remember the year that came out, but that's a PS2 game, and that had essentially the forerunner to Scapes. It was called Photo Travel. And I guess
was it the first?
It depends on whether you class it as the first dedicated photo. I think there's other games prior to it with like an in-game camera, like a simple one, a bit like what Season has got, for example. It's like the character using a camera. I think there's
Beyond Good and Evil had one, and I think it came out.
I don't know the year. Yeah, but as far as I know, as a fully dedicated photo mode, I think Gran Turismo 4 might be the originator, and it's surprisingly good. It's very hard to find footage of it, but it's basically like Scapes. In some ways, it's actually got some things better than Scapes, because Scapes is, we'll show that in a bit, but Scapes is like a real world scene
photography
that's been made into a 3D environment, but you can't move around it apart from you can pan and tilt the camera. In Photo Travel, it was a fully 3D rendered space that you could actually move around, and you could place a car at different spots and move the car and kind of walk around it like a full-on in-game photo.
That's
insane.
That's really cool. Like I wonder if it's a budget kind of thing. Like they decided that taking photographers to different parts of the world and capture taking a photo of the scene is less expensive than rendering.
Well, it's surely not, especially given how many they've included. There's thousands. I think because Gran Turismo has got this sort of drive for fidelity. That's always been their kind of motivating factor. I think they want to make the most realistic thing, visually, that they can, and you can't get any more real than an actual photograph of the area, I suppose. So maybe like if you look at the environments in Unreal 5 now, they're incredible. Like the forest scene or something. You could maybe expect them to start re-rendering them all, but that's an enormous task now, isn't it? So I don't think we'll see it shift back.
A lot of scapes.
There's something like 6,000, I can't remember, but yeah, they're not going to return. But they have made changes before, like when they stepped up the car detail in GT5. Do you remember there was standard and premium cars, and the standard ones didn't have an interior, and the premium ones did?
The last one that I played before 7 was, I think it was 4. 5 was already for the PS3, right?
3, yeah.
Okay, so I actually skipped the entire PS3's generation of games. Like I got a PS3 really late, and then I went back and played only those that I really wanted to play. And with the PS4, I got Sport, GT Sport.
GT Sport, that was one I really didn't quite get into because it took away the kind of the career mode. But I did enjoy Scapes in that. I think Gran Turismo is underestimated in its importance in game photography. And all right, you might say it's not influenced that many people, but it's probably had more of an influence within the industry actually. Because
I think so, yeah.
Other developers see what others are doing, and they're like, that's a great feature. And I'd be very interested to know how many other studios have seen what Polyphony Digital have done with those cameras way back on PS2. The PS2 one, by the way, I don't know if you could export the pictures. On the PS3, you could. You could put them on a USB, and I don't think I ever really did it. I don't know why.
Even if you put up a USB, would it work? But while you were talking, what I thought was maybe using emulator for, because you were saying there is not that many footage for the mode on Gran Turismo 4, so maybe use an emulator and take photos on that. That might be fun, like going back in time.
Yeah, I've considered it actually. In fact, I could do it with this capture card if I get a PS2 and a copy of Gran Turismo 4.
Yeah.
I would have to play through the whole game.
I have both.
Oh well. Get yourself a capture card. And a save file is important. But yeah, it might be fun just to go back because it's actually pretty good. By the way, just to cover some of the features it's got like full focal length, aperture, shutter speed, exposure.
How were they rendering all of that on the PS2?
And the aperture, the depth of field is really good as well. But yeah, essentially that led on to Scapes as it is now, which in a way gets criticized a bit for being too.
I was going to say it's like back when I was posting GT7 last year, some people were debating that it's like stickers. You're basically, but I don't think so. Yeah. I think, okay, you are not exactly making your full composition, but first of all, you have thousands of scapes. So yeah, there are those that are really popular, but there is an argument that you could use one that is, the chances that it's going to be used by anyone else is very little.
I'll tell you what, well, I don't even think it's just down to that. I think it's how you use them, but let's just switch over and we'll have it up while we talk about it then. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's just a matter of choosing a unique scape. I think it's how... some of them are quite limited, don't dispute that.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that that's the only factor that makes them not be placing stickers. It's one of the factors.
I think it's way more than stickers, and you could argue that it's actually venturing it into almost like if you were to go back to the in-engine work where you've got to place a model and actually create the scene. Yes, okay, the background is done for you. That's fine, but you've still got to think about how to work with it and position the car, and we'll do it in a minute. I just noticed there's some new ones. Let's just have a quick nosy at those.
Of course, there is new ones.
Every update, there's some extra ones.
And that's something to be commended. Commended
is fine, yeah.
Commended. That they, every time that they do an update to the game, they send a photographer to somewhere in the world to take photos and add them to scapes.
Exactly. Is that Japan? Yeah, Fukuoka in Japan. So obviously someone had a dare to the fire station and decided to take a bunch of pictures. Why not? They've also just added an ambulance, actually. That ambulance there is now in the game. I don't know why you'd want to race that, but you can.
Oh, that's cool.
What I would do, though, is just pick a height adjustable one, because not all of them allow vertical shift on the camera, and that's
new, actually, isn't it? That's a recent.
So let's just, I don't want just a field. Let's find something a bit more enclosed so we can. There you go, something like that. Yeah, bit underground discharge. Maybe not. Not the nicest name.
I'm going to love this.
Are you?
This is the first time that I'm going to see you take photos on Gran Turismo.
All right. I like that one. Caught my eye because it's got a wet floor as well. I like, the sort of dank, slightly reflective, but not overly so.
Yeah.
Right. Any preference on car? I don't.
Something old.
Old? Okay.
I like old cars.
As in like a classic old or 90s or...
Is 90s not old?
I don't know. It's debatable. What about this McLaren F1 1994? Or do you mean like a full-on classic? Or
okay.
Yeah?
Fine by me, yeah.
Okay. Right. So the argument that it's just a sticker is that... by the way, let me just set this back. You can tell that I've been using it at some point because it's not set on 16:9.
Okay, so if you did that and like exactly what you did, would that be considered just a sticker?
I suppose so, if you don't move the camera, and like if I just go back again, so back to spot selection, straight in, that's the default view, and then just literally drop a car. Oh, I've lost my McLaren. And then if I literally just, there it is, and then take that, there's not very much input in that, is there? That's just a selection,
I agree. Yeah.
If I just delete the car for now, because we'll just have a look at what the camera can do in terms of movement, and it varies by scape, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, and I actually like that. I actually like that it varies for by scape, because it's a challenge. It's the challenge.
I know what you mean. It does mean it's sometimes quite frustrating though, because you pick one and it doesn't do what you want. Like, no. So over on the left,
the one from Porto doesn't allow you for any movement.
Oh, right.
Or very little.
Yeah. So first thing to do, left stick just zooms in and out. So you've got field of view, essentially. You've got a focal length. And again, that varies. Some might go up to like 300 mil. You got a really long zoom, and some go super wide. This one, 33 to whatever it was, 115. That's not bad. But you can already see, like, now I've really changed the available scene, and I can actually eliminate most of it if I particularly want. And it just start to isolate the car more, because if I can zoom right down onto just those bricks, I can also do that to, like you were saying before, parts of a car. So
and it's interesting because you could even make the argument that you could photograph scapes without the car being there.
That I would never do that because it's a photograph to begin with that you're just cropping a bit of an existing picture. Right. So when you do place a car, you've got free movement within a certain area. So this one's quite a tight space that I've chosen.
It's mind-boggling that it's reflecting. As soon as you put it, it's immediately reflecting. And you are moving it and the reflections are there.
Yep. I could turn on the lights and the lights are... There you go. That one disappears there. That's interesting because it goes across that crack there. The second tail light actually goes off. But no, it's on again now. It must have just been a specific spot.
Yeah. Did you find a glitch?
Yeah, I think so. Right, so we can place the car. Again, some scapes have got like big open areas and you can put the car miles away, or
like
you can...
the lights from the back of the car are reflecting off the
wall. Exactly.
The wall. That's so cool.
Yeah, this is the thing. Is it really a 2D background? No, it's more than that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just going to
something that I don't remember. If you place a car, turn on the two cars and turn the lights on, does it?
Oh, I know what you mean. Carry on.
Reflect out of the car?
So, like, if I shine at another car that's Veyron next to it, do the lights shine on the second car, do you mean?
Yeah.
Christ, how big's this Veyron?
Jesus.
Actually, we can see on the side of the Veyron, look.
Yeah, that it does.
It's just catching the front wheel there. So, yes, they do interact with each other.
That's so cool.
2 cars. Delete. Remove. Right. Front wheels. You should always set your front wheels at an angle, I think. Headlights. A bit bright, but okay. We can come to that after, actually. Detailed settings. Look at all this. We can set some dust. Oil stains. Yeah. I don't want oil stains. I've got a nice pristine car. Scratches and dents. Goodness, no. Not on a McLaren. Tire dirt damage. Key lights. Rear lights.
You can tell that you are a car aficionado when you say not in a McLaren. Oh God,
especially
not in a McLaren.
Love an F1. So there you go. We can actually manually dim or brighten the lights, so we can have them overbearing.
Yeah.
What a ridiculous scale to 3 decimal places. Whatever. Right. Rain. Put the rear rain on. Can't even see it. Right. So now
the camera options.
I think it's not quite. There we go. Better angle. That's nicer. Interesting fact. If you change the suspension height in your garage, it is reflected in the photo mode. So if you jack up the back end and put the front low and give it like a dragster look,
cool.
You can actually do that and it'll use it in the photo mode. Same as you can see the car rock when I turn the wheels. You see that the front side bumps back up again. Anyway. Right, I'm going to leave travel speed off. We can maybe try another quick one after, but that moves the car and there is not much space for it here. I can turn it on and we'll see why.
You're going to crash if you...
Right. You see the little reticle in the middle? So if I hold square, I can move that around and then place where it focuses. So here, and it will do a little beep. And then if I put the aperture f-stop down, so just zoom in a little bit so you can really see that work better.
Game should have an autofocus.
Yeah, I agree. So if I now focus on the top of the windscreen there, and you see it move, and actually you can set it to lock so that even if I move the car backwards and forwards, it tracks
it's always on that. Yeah.
Or you can set
I love that feature.
Yeah, you can have it fixed or move with the car. So single, full auto, just do its own thing. But I want to put it back down here on the wing, I think. There we go. And you sort of just bring the light back into focus. Oops. Let me just zoom back out to where I was. Right, now, this one actually isn't too high up at the starting point, but a lot of the scapes seem to have been taken at like by a tall person, you know, like, with the camera slightly above head height even. And I really don't like that for car shots because you lose the stance of the car, personally, I think. So that's why I've chosen one of these with the adjustable height, because you see how much different the car looks from down here versus when you're
Is it possible that the scapes are a collage?
A collage?
Like various photos from different heights stitched together.
To achieve this? Possibly.
Yeah.
I don't actually know. That's a good question. But a good tip, by the way, for car photography is if you get down to sort of wing mirror level, like if you've got your head at just higher than the wheels, so like wing mirror level or top of the wing there. So if you follow my little cursor, if you've got like head height to this, you tend to get quite a complementary stance for the car.
Okay, that's nice. Good.
Look good from that. So I would say something around here is alright for it. Yeah, I think that suits it. Right, we've also got just general roll. Again, varies with the scape. You can't flip into portrait. However,
but
yeah.
That's another thing that I really enjoy.
The aspect ratios. Okay,
yeah.
So 16:9 by default, 3:2. So you see that crops in fine. If I set it to 16:9 again, and then I can flip it to portrait orientation. Now it looks like it's just cut off, but the final export will give a full res capture of that, as though the screen was on its side. So you actually can just use it now to. All right, I'm in a very tight space, so it's not a good example, but in a more open one, then you do sort of have full res portrait without doing your head on the side, you know. Anyway.
Or cropping.
Or without cropping, yeah, exactly.
Crop, yeah.
So being me, I'm going to go for a wider view. It already looks better. Yeah, okay. I'm always.
I think you are rubbing that off on me. No.
What the
aspect ratio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Now, okay, back up here. I've got exposure compensation, which is just the exposure of the camera. So make it very bright, make it quite dark, and it is quite a good one. That looks like a believable exposure, not just like super brightness. Shutter speed here currently won't make any difference because nothing's moving. But if you do add movement, which you can do with the panning shot or the drift mode, then you generate more motion blur with this. So let's leave it for now.
I don't think I ever did a panning shot.
Okay, well, we'll try one after. It won't do well in here. Color temperature, remember when we did the edit ones? So you know that this is the warmth and whatnot. Make it almost sepia if you wanted.
I really like the color temperature. I like when games give us that color temperature, tint.
Yeah, they should all, because it's a standard thing. This is a duplicate of the exposure compensation, by the way. It's just on both. Right, now here, these presets, if you find the rest of this to be overwhelming, because I'll be honest, it is quite extensive. You can use presets, and there's just a bunch of pre-made sort of color filter, a bit more than a color filter, because they sometimes have gradients on them and things as well. But if you pick one, you can also then edit on top of it.
Edit the one. Yeah, I use Opal and then edit things out all the time.
Yeah. Or a really nice feature is that you can press from photo and choose one of your existing shots, and it brings in the setup that you did last time. Actually, that looks pretty good. I might leave that on.
Yeah.
Film grain, it's quite dark in here, so I'd probably have a little bit of film grain.
How much do you decide how much is too much film grain?
Well, by routine, when using my camera, try to avoid noise. I don't get film grain because I'm shooting digital, so you get sensor noise instead. But I try to avoid it as much as possible, so you get a fast lens, which means you don't need to bump the ISO up, which is what gives you lots of noise. Because I shoot the cinematic style, shooting on film typically did have noise because you've got to shoot fast to get the motion. So I put on just enough to take the pristineness of it. You know, like when in the blacks, it shouldn't necessarily be totally flawless.
Okay.
So I want it to just get a little bit of texture. Not so much that it looks like it's been ruined and it's actually breaking down the detail. I don't want that. So I'm conservative with it, is basically my answer. Vignette is, as you would expect, a typical vignette.
Huh? It does what a vignette does.
Chromatic aberration we just ignore, but I will actually just check what it does on Gran Turismo. It's actually not a bad one.
That's not a bad one.
Give him credit, it's alright. Glare I like. So, you know, I changed the lens brightness, the light brightness before, but this just adds a little bit of flare onto it without it being too bright a source. Or you can do the opposite and make it really crisp and just get that haze away. What do you reckon? Bit of haze or not?
I always leave it, give it a bit of glare.
Yeah, okay. And then if you really want, you can make it like a fisheye weird distortion thing, which I've never used. But then these things, so these filters. Now, essentially, you've got screen effect 1, 2, and 3, and car, and they're all duplicates, but you can apply them as separate layers. So I can do a mask. You can see it's applying the filters to different areas there. So that's just on the background, not the car. And then that's like just from above. But we go in one, we can pick the presets again, or we can fully adjust. I'm not going to do it now because it'll take too long. But we've got saturation, brightness, RGB for that, contrast RGB, highlights RGB, midpoint, which is the grey point, and
it's super overwhelming, but so good.
It is really good. And if you, the thing I use in it especially is the blacks. So I want to, again, you remember when we did the editing one, I take off the bottom of the histogram to give a bit of matte black in the real darks. I like that look. So that's why I've got a little bit of black point correction on there. But yeah, you can do it in different layers and you could apply, let me just do a silly one. So I've put a mask of a gradient, the top and bottom halves, and then increase saturation a lot. And increase brightness a lot. It's probably a bad scene to be trying it, isn't it? But
yeah.
But you can see how it's affecting it locally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Now that's a terrible mess. But let me just turn. Oh my god! Look at what I've done.
I love it.
There we go. It's okay. All is well. By the way, had I done that and made it horrible, I could always still, so I'll just keep adding these, and now I've got a horrible yellowy green thing, but I can go back and reload my preset from a previous picture, or indeed one of those, but from photo, and it was just that one that I loaded, and now it's back as it was.
Yeah.
Good. Take the shot, rendering in process. There you go. Captured. That's it. So
many options.
You can argue too many.
If they, it's the same as Days Gone. If they made you use it, all of the options, but not only do they not make you use it, but they give you alternatives. Like you could use a preset and then adjust the preset, stuff like that. That's really cool.
So yeah, I think if it lets you adjust the presets, it's kind of good for learning because you can set something going by the result first and then kind of reverse engineer it. Right, I've just turned on the tracking I think it will crash the car in here, and it usually says there wasn't enough space. Oh, I got away with it because the shutter speed was so low. But you saw then it just added onto wheels.
A little bit.
Yeah. 1/25th of a second, so I'm going to shorten the shutter speed, so 1/15th of a second, lengthen the shutter speed, and right now, and just zoom in on that, you can see it's added nice motion blur to the wheel. You can see the rain now actually on the lens and the lights. But also look at the background and the road has started to blur out. So you, even in a static scene, can make it look totally in motion. If you go too far with it, so put it to a second, the car, it doesn't have enough room for it to calculate the distance, if you know what I mean. And it says that it's crashed, basically, and it couldn't compute it. There you go. An error occurred. You'll see this a lot. Because the car left the area in which it can travel. It still gives you the picture, but you get weird stuff. I like that, by the way.
The thing is, the weird stuff that you get sometimes is really cool.
It can be. It's just something to experiment with. And let me just go back out, because if you go to library, I think this is a unique feature. There's the picture I've just taken, and if you go, oh, I made a mistake, OpenScapes, and you're back where you were, and you can re-edit it and retake the shot. So now I can turn that shutter speed back down again and try to take it at that.
Is there any game that you would like
There you go.
to have a feature like Scapes?
That is an extremely good question that I wasn't ready for. I'll tell you how I will answer it. What I think Scapes is the sort of... simplified is the wrong word, because you've just seen how extensive the camera settings are. But it's simplified in terms of the environment. The actual scene is simplified. What I think that is sort of a forerunner for is giving you control over a studio, like a virtual studio, and being able to set characters and subjects, whatever they are. So placing objects within a studio. If you had essentially Scapes where you could place a car and you could play... By the way, you can put a driver in. It's something we didn't do before. There he is. There we go. So you can place a character and then do character rigging on that character. Now, this doesn't have rigging. It's just got some basic cheesy poses.
Can you add shutter speed with the driver in?
Yes, but he... Oh, that... Okay. That's an interesting... I don't think of it. I'll just take it now. Panning shots cannot be taken if the driver has been placed, because he'll get run over. Yeah. Good thought there, actually, as to whether he would have stayed, because you can change it to not track the car. So I have tracking on 100%. So if I turn that back down, what should happen? I'll have to turn the driver off. Remove driver. The scene should stay stationary and the car should move.
Should be go away.
Never really do this way. Rendering. Okay. It's actually done both. So. But if you want some abstract shots, that's the way to go.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, you asked any game that I want Scapes in. I want it in all games where you can place the character and you've got some, like let's say Horizon, and it could give you a default area that's in a theme of the jungle or the theme of the desert. And then you can place a machine and you can place Aloy and you can place some enemies. Do you know what I mean?
It would be fantastic. A fantastic way to take photos of the machines.
Yeah, damn right. Exactly. And then give yourself some actual lighting as well, as in 3-point lighting, because that's something Gran Turismo doesn't have. The lighting's great, but it's pre-made. You can't alter it apart from changing the settings of how bright they are and things. But yeah, imagine being able to use Spider-Man's lights around that car.
I asked you the question knowing that my answer would be Spider-Man.
Okay. Yeah.
Like different suits, different Spider-Man, different locations of New York, maybe enemies.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly the sort of thing I was thinking.
I know that one.
Yeah, I don't know where I've used it. It's actually on my phone background for ages, but it's been replaced by the dog. But yeah, if I just take this and then zoom out, if I can. There we go. So you can see, actually, this is one where I've used a dark streets scene.
Yeah.
and brought the car nice and close, so the car actually starts off way down there.
Can you... Do you... That's not an option, but there is also the replay mode that we haven't talked about.
Yes, that's a good point. Hold on. How do I find...
I think
I've got
it's...
to go out of Scapes to get
Yeah.
to it. You can load up anybody's replay. I probably have a replay saved somewhere. Race replays. No, I don't. Damn.
Do you have photos of replays?
If you have photos of replays, you can't
Race
reopen
photos.
those. So race photos, yes, I do.
Yeah. Okay.
See, now I can just share it and I can export. So that'll actually put it on the PlayStation. And if I press share, that puts it onto the Gran Turismo social network thing. And the GranTurismo.com, whatever the website is, you know. But if you use a race replay, which you can use anybody's, oh man, can I just search for anything? Oh, where's the filters for those?
I think it's search options.
Whoops. But yes, you can essentially go around the entire race with a fully mobile camera. There we go, replays. So anybody's, there we go. Choose yours and view, and then afterwards, I think you just while you're viewing it, don't just pick the camera, and you've got not quite exactly the same settings as Scapes, but certainly all the editing ones are the same.
Yeah. Also, the shutter speed is there, right? Well, I hope you like this car.
Good point. Because they're all the same car. But walk mode, so now I can walk around the track. By the way, you can walk the entire track.
All the time, yeah. Yes,
even without where the cars are. So what you do here is pick a starting point, essentially. So you can, if you want an aerial shot, you can do it, or if you want to get down on the ground, you do that. Let's just put it somewhere for argument's sake there. Then I press X for prepare camera. Sorry, cross.
And
now we're back into essentially Scapes one. But
always X.
Without it's X, isn't it?
It's going to be always X.
So this lot, now if you look, I can load in from photo, and now it limits me to my race photos. I can't load Escapes preset.
Okay.
But essentially from here I've got zoom. Now I should have the full length zoom. So you look at that, 800mm. Oof. But if I think, oh damn it, I want it to be a little bit further to the left, whereas in Scapes you can't do that. Now I can hold R2 and shuffle the camera along. So I've kept the movement. If Scapes added that, that'd be the changer for it, I think. But from here on, you've got everything that we've just shown before, and you can just take whatever you want with it. But yeah, to say that Scapes is limited is true, but you've got total freedom within the replays. So there you go.
Damn! Now I installed the game, so now I'm going to.
Yeah, well, get on the time trials. I'm looking for some people to have a go at my times.
I hate the time trials.
I love the time trials. Thank you, whoever's replay that was. I didn't see the name, sorry. Get in these get on the time trials. They're daily. There's I'm struggling for gold on the latest one, but so be it. Silver thing.
Is that movie content?
Yeah, so this is a movie-themed time trial. It's the car from the film on the Red Bull Ring, which is in the film.
Oh, cool.
You can also watch the trailer for the film up here. Anyway, I think we've gone on long enough about Gran Turismo.
Okay. Yeah.
So, leave it at that.
I will tell you how bad the movie is tomorrow.
I look forward to it. See ya.
See ya.